Hi, welcome to Part of My Friendship. This is me, 143. If you don't have a friend, you have one now. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Sunday Funday. And this is a day where we have all sorts of different kind of topics. So welcome, welcome, welcome. If you are new here, please say hi in the chat. If you are a regular, please say also hi in the chat. Hello, hello, hello to Happy Sunday to our moderator. Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday. So we've got a lot of stuff happening here today. A lot of stuff to go over, a lot of updates and everything, especially with little Coco Chanel. A lot of stuff to catch you up on. So we will get into a bunch of that stuff, especially the updates on Coco. As you can see, Violet and Dave are here. We could see that Patty's clock is a little broken, so she's a little behind. So at least Dave is on time. Thank you, Dave. Hello, Dave and Violet. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So, Patty is on. So welcome, Patty. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So we've got a lot of updates to bring on little Coco. She is doing fantastic. I am back in the studio today. I do have a little babysitter for Coco so that she did not have any anxiety issues today. Like last week, we had to have the show upstairs in my living room, unfortunately, because she just, hey, Michelle from New Zealand is on with Bubba. So hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So we had to have the show had to be a little rerouted last Tuesday, because Coco was having some anxiety issues. So, but today we are back in the studio. Coco has a babysitter, and her and Rosie are together. So Rosie and her will be well taken care of while we are doing the show. So that is a good thing. But I will catch you up on her status with regards to her healing and how she's doing. So that is a good thing. She was doing quite well. She's actually healing up rather quickly. Her scars are looking great, and she is just doing fabulous. And I could not be any more happier. She is thriving, more than I could have ever asked. So it just makes me so happy, quicker than I thought. I thought it was going to take a really, really long time. So I'm very, very blessed and thankful for everything that she's gone through. But it has been a very, very, very long 3 to 4 days for me. But a lot of things have happened. So a lot of interesting things that I'd like to talk about and go over, and a lot of just different kind of interesting events, that have happened, and want to get everybody's kind of input on it. But anyways, like I said, the stuff with Coco is just, like I said, and I will keep praising MedVet in Worthington, up and down all day long, because the work that they've done on her, just fabulous. She has her checkup in probably the end of this week coming up, and then she'll be back on the shows, because again, she's just thriving so well, and I could not ask for anything more. So that is our Coco update. So thank you, Michelle, for making this wonderful picture of Coco. Coco, Rosie, and Lola. This is what we're gonna. Yes, you're right, Michelle. She is young, and I think that's probably part of the reason why she's bouncing back so well. Michelle has made this wonderful picture of Rosie, the nurse, and Lola, the doctor. Rosie has been such a wonderful little nurse to Coco. Absolutely wonderful little nurse to Coco. Just following her around like crazy, and I just could not ask for anything more. So God love her. She's, I think Rosie went through a lot of turmoil as well, right along with me. We both stressed out enough with it. But and then Rosie, I will say this, Rosie did take a picture today um, Rosie took a picture today, and I had to, not making fun of my Rosie or anything, but not making fun of my Rosie or anything, but I did think that I did think that she resembled Stitch a little bit in this picture. So I did think that Rosie resembled Stitch a little bit. So I had to put them side by side. I'm sorry. I'm not making fun of my little Rosie, but I always feel like she resembles Stitch just a little bit. um, so when I saw that picture, it just reminded me of Stitch just a little bit. So she she anyway. So that's the update on Coco right now. She's doing fabulous, fabulous, fabulous. So, anyways, but this very in with regards to kind of with regards to Coco as well. I'm very grateful for I'm I always talk about one of the reasons for this channel is, or a couple of the reasons is, trying to break the stigma of pet loss and grief with regards to how the world and society views it. And same thing with regards to when your pets get injured or things like that. And especially, okay, like the situation with Coco. When Coco went into the emergency that she went into, I was a wreck. I was a wreck. And but I still had to work. I still had to work. And I was very blessed that I had a very understanding. I'm a supervisor in my position, but I was very lucky that I had a manager that understood, and I was very lucky that I had a couple other supervisors that backed me up, and took care of my team while I was taking care of Coco and my situation. I was very blessed in that aspect that I have a company and a support system at work that understood that. Now, I know that there's other companies that don't see it that way. That would have been like, it's just, get to work, take care of your business. And to me, that's sad, and that's not the way it should be. And that's, and Michelle says how same thing, taking care of a special needs dog. I don't know. That's a hard job too. When people have dogs that have special needs that need round the clock care, or dogs that are like in wheelchairs and so forth, that is literally, I would think that if you have a full-time job, you're probably having to put that dog in some sort of doggy daycare, something like that. You'd have to, in order to balance, or you have to probably have a full-time work from home job. Now, we do have the ability to work from home like part-time. However, I'm a supervisor, so I can't really supervise from home. There's not really, I can't really supervise people from home. So that doesn't really work out in my aspect. But again, I was lucky in this aspect where my other supervisors were able to step in for me. I was very blessed to have a company that supports me in that kind of arena. So I was lucky, very, very lucky in that aspect. So very thankful for them. But again, that's where I would love it if all companies did that. If all companies recognized that, that pets are special, pets are important to people, and again, this is where we need to break break the norms in the world. And it's just now that they passed where dog abuse is a class, or a certain class of a felony. And why wasn't that done before? Why haven't we made dog abuse felonies before? Why did it just take till this administration to make it a felony? That literally just passed this past year, where now abusing a dog can be a felony. That's sad. That should have been a felony a long time ago. But it's just that finally just passed, that now that's a felony. And that could be felonies, felonious charges, and that that should have been felony a long time ago. You sit there and totally abuse animals. I was looking at a case today where, it's these, I hate to say it, these groomers. I don't know. It seems like a lot of, and not all, I mean, trust me, there's tons of good groomers. And I always hate to have to prep, you know, say that, oh, there's good groomers. There's tons of great groomers, right? But it just seems like in the, they always have to showcase the bad ones, just like everything, right? All the bad ones have to, bubble up to the top, and that's all you see. And so, I just saw another story about another bad groomer, and, basically beating this dog to death, and, and just, getting picked up on charges. And now, granted, the good thing is that, that she's up for a felony, but a groomer. I mean, and yeah, that's what the moderator says. You can't trust anyone. That is completely, and to me, it's like there's no excuse for it. It's not like, you could say, oh, well, was a dog biting her or something? There's no excuse for that. The dog was like a little Pomeranian or something. It was maybe like, I don't know, like maybe 12 pounds. It was a 12-pound dog or something. It was like this little dog. So it's not, there's no like, some sort of, was it some sort of large dog that was attacking her or whatever? No, it was some sort of little, lap dog or whatever. But, yeah, there's no excuse for that. And the thing is like, if she did it to that dog, how many other dogs did she do it to? Right. So I don't know. It's just hard to, just be able to go in and trust people like that. But anyway, so yeah, it's nice that now that things like that are now finally getting looked at and being taken seriously. And, just like where, they finally got rid of all the dog testing with all the, where all the beagles were being tested on for science, and they finally shut all those down. Thank God. I mean, that took how many years to, I mean, that was going on for years, and finally they shut down all those, and all those poor dogs. I mean, it's horrible, absolutely horrible. But anyway, so moving on. It's definitely one of those, I guess, what do you call the things that happen in life that go on that are just like unspeakable, right? You just don't, they go on, and you just don't talk about them. And it's just too hard to talk about them, but they're there. So one thing that or a couple, like I said, tons of things happened this week. And I was very lucky on Friday to be able to, I know in one of my past videos I had talked about very good friend of mine, her beautiful mother had passed away, and I was able to attend her funeral on Friday. I hopped a plane on Friday morning and flew into town, and I flew back out of town the same night. And while I was in town that morning, I was able to swing by, and I was able to stop and see, and you'll like this, Michelle, so pay attention to this one. I was able to stop and see Violet. So I did see Dave and Patty's Violet while I was in town. So so I did see Violet while I was in town. So this is a little Violet. So this is Dave and Patty's Violet. While I was out in the area attending the funeral in the area. So I did get a chance to see Violet while I was out there. So this is Violet. Now I will point out one thing, or I will point out two things, I will say. So right above my head are the urns of Ginger and Pepper. So Ginger and Pepper were Patty and Dave's two pups that have passed, and their urns are right above my head above there. So you can't, it's kind of blurry in the picture, but so yes, we were able to stop and see Violet and visit with her for a little bit, and Patty and Dave as well. So yes, so we were able to stop and see them on the trip. But I was very, very lucky to go in and attend my friend's funeral, my friend's mother's funeral, and it was very nice. And the it was really interesting. I'll show a picture, and it does the hot dog on the bottom is a long story too. But anyway, so this is like a picture of like all of my very very good friends from high school that we've all grown up and so forth. But the uh, it was it was very the it was very interesting because we all went to high school together, and of course this was her mother that had passed, and of course she was a very integral part of our growing up, because that was the family, that was the house that you had sleepovers in and so forth. And so as we're all sitting in the service, and sitting at the service, you sit there and a lot of things kind of hit you. It hits you that you're old, or you're older, I should say. But B, you kind of have these. I was kind of having these interesting flashbacks of when I was younger, and when I was at sleepovers and stuff at their house, and to think that when then I was like, okay, how would it be when I am at my age now, when I have kids, and how would it be when how would it be then when we are now? And looking around and seeing her and her kids, and my friends and their kids, and it's just kind of one of those things that reality kind of hits you. And and then that one day that you're going to be the person up there that's being honored at the funeral. And it's an interesting kind of reality check in a way, right? And but in a way it also teaches you that time is precious, and you should take that time and you should make the most of it, and you shouldn't wait for things like that, and you should visit more, and you should take time, and just really make the time when people are here, right? And that's I think that you should just always be grateful, and just make the most of time with that with the people that you have. So um that I don't know, it was just kind of an interesting thing. But the hot dog on the bottom, I will say this, that the hot dog on the bottom is because is because I yeah, the hot dog on the bottom is because I did get to the airport early, and I was able to get a hot dog. And I did tell Dave that I was not probably going to eat at the airport before the flight, but I was able to get a Chicago style hot dog before I had the flight. So, and so I did get a hot dog before the flight, but I told him I probably was not going to eat because he was hungry. So, anyways, but I was able to get a hot dog before the flight. So I did get a hot dog. Anyway, so that's just another story for another day. But that is what that is. So, and another kind of weird thing, when I was sitting at the airport, I was having that hot dog, and there was two people sitting at the table next to me, and they had they had been drinking a lot, and they had started talking to me and asked me, where I was going, and just small talk or whatever. And I had said, I was in for a funeral, and they said, oh, they were flying out to a funeral. And I said, oh, I'm sorry, and they were going to a funeral for a 22-year-old young man who ran into a building, or ran into a house to save his 90-year-old grandmother. And both of them didn't make it out alive. Both of them didn't make it out. So they both perished. And the interesting thing about it was they were telling me that the mother of the 22-year-old was horribly upset because like they were saying, she was like broken because her son has passed, but B, she kept like vocalizing out loud that, the grandmother had lived her life. He should have just let her go and not even tried. And I think, and like they were saying that that was like bothering the family the most, instead of just being like, yeah, he did a good thing. And so it was, it was just, it was kind of, it's one of those kind of weird, I don't know. What's your thoughts on that? To me, it was weird because I thought, well, the kid did a great thing. I mean, he did a really heroic thing, because I don't know if he didn't do it. I mean, could he live with himself, by knowing that he possibly could have gotten her out? But I think it's one of those catch-22s, right? Maybe he would have lived with regret all of his life. Yeah, right. That is one of the, yeah, right. That's actually one of the parts, right. That's what the moderator said. It's one of the parts of stages of grief. But I mean, but in your opinion, I mean, would you feel the same way as the mom? Would you think that he shouldn't have gone in? Would you think that he should have just like let the grandma go, or even tried? Right. It exactly. That it's like a catch-22, because part of you is like, you're sitting there, somebody's in there that, and here's another kicker, because they live so far out into, like, I guess some real rural area. It's not like the fire department wasn't like that accessible. So, to think that like the fire people were there and he was just running in to do it, there wasn't like the fire people weren't there right away. It took like a while for, they were in, like, I guess Spokane, Washington or something like that. So they were up in like the mountains, and it took forever to get firemen there and stuff like that. So that's why they were trying to do everything on their own. So that's another reason. So there wasn't like there was firemen there and he just was trying to be a hero and ran in. So, but it was kind of an interesting little twist of, do you, but again, like, being a mom, a part of you is like, yeah, I guess, my kid was a hero, trying to go in and save grandma. But, then the other, you know, right. Dave says at my age, I hope no young person risks their life to say exact. Well, and that would be my thing too. If it was me, if I was 90 years old, I would hope that nobody would come in to do the same thing. Right. And that would be me too. I would be the same way, especially if if the place is so far gone. And more than likely, like, if you ever talk to, people that are, I mean, they always tell you this anyways with the whole stop, drop, and roll thing. More than likely, the first thing that gets you before any kind of flames do is the smoke, right? And I think, Dave, you were a volunteer fireman. Isn't that usually it? I think it's the first thing that gets you is smoke inhalation. So typically, I don't know, I'm not a fireman, but like, I believe that that's pretty much what gets you prior to even flames getting you, is smoke inhalation. So more than likely, and she was 90 something years old or 90 years old. So more than likely, she probably passed a smoke inhalation. And by the time he got in there, who knows if he could have even picked her up. And, I mean, just, again, it's just a sad situation. It was just a sad situation to hear about. And then, for them to have to, go out there for that funeral and, just, yeah, just really interesting, just a really interesting kind of twist on, um, what, what would you think, or what would you do if you were in that situation, and if it was your child? Because again, part of you is like, wow, part of you, or part of me would be like, yeah, I would have a lot of pride that my son had enough heart to want to go and do that, and save somebody, because that's what kind of, great act of love is that? Um, but right, because you'd be heartbroken if you knew that you could do something, but you didn't, but, um, so yeah, that was one of the interesting stories while I was sitting in the airport. It was definitely, um, one of the most interesting stories. So then also, while I was while I was at the funeral, one of the one of the people there was, a- one of my friends that I went to high school with, um, who whose name is Amy. She's in the picture here. She's with the glasses. I'll put her up here. She's with the glasses. Now, Amy has worked for a rescue organization, and it's called here. It's called ABRA, ABRA, and Angels. And you can, I'll put the information in the chat as well, or if the moderator can find it. But they're out in Crown Point, Indiana, and they do amazing rescue work. They actually will have a gala coming up where they do this, fundraising gala, and they do amazing work. Now, Amy has worked for them, or has done rescue work for them for over 13 years. And sitting and talking with her about this rescue and the work that she has done, amazing work, amazing work. But it was interesting because when we were sitting at the restaurant, um, she had gotten a phone call. Oh, thank you. You put it in the chat. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So the moderator just put the website to this rescue in here, but you can donate to the rescue as well. But Amy had gotten a phone call while we were there, and it was from, a veterinarian, and, um, you know, talking about, more fosters that are needed, and she hung up, and I mean, she just looked really stressed, and I had asked her about it, and she just said, these calls come nonstop, and she was telling me about how every other day they get lists from humane societies and places all over, not just the state, but all over other states. And to, they send them the euthanasia lists, and, they either have, anywhere from, could be 24 hours to a week to pick up these dogs or find places for these dogs. And it could be, these dogs could be 6 months old, and they could be, putting these dogs down. And I asked her, I go, how do you do it? I said, how do you do it? I said, that would stress me out. If I got a list of dogs that were on a list to be put down, and I had a limited amount of time to try to find, or cats too. I always leave out cats, but dogs, cats, whatever. But if I had a list that was given to me of animals that had a limited amount of time to be put down, that would stress the hell out of me. And she goes, I've lived with being stressed out for 13 years. And she said, it just keeps coming and coming, and it's nonstop, and trying to find people to foster, trying to find people to adopt. And she said, it's just nonstop. And they do amazing work. I mean, she showed me, the recent pictures of the puppies that just all came in. And I mean, she was telling me, stories about, there was things out there that I had no idea. I mean, there's things called puppy auctions where they auction off like dogs that breeders don't want anymore. And I guess it's just these horrible things that happen to dogs. And I mean, the things she was telling me about, it's just absolutely just horrible. But I mean, the good thing is that there's places like this that they work so hard, and they do so much work, and they, these places work with vets, and they spay the dogs. They get, they find them great homes. And, again, it's just, I mean, just almost, it's you could just tell. And they, trap cats, and they trap them and then they spay them and all that stuff just to try to control the population. And but just all the hard work they do, and I just, my thing is if people can support that her rescue or other rescues, just to just to help these people out, because man, do they do a good job. But like I said, there's no way. I mean, I'll write a check, but I don't know if I could deal with that stress all day long. It would break my heart seeing a list like that, because I would panic. And I'm not a panicky person. I'm a pretty I'm a pretty laid back in control kind of person. But that would panic the hell out of me, getting a list like that. I don't know about you, but that would panic the hell out of me. um, so yeah, Patty says Amy dealing with a very, very stressful. Yeah, and that's the thing too. Amy is one of the people, and I mean, Amy has such a good heart. She has always had a big heart. She's such a good person, and she's always been that way. Always growing up, she's always had a big heart, and she's always had a great heart for animals, and she's just a very, very good person. Yeah, you know what? And especially you're right, Michelle. Especially like with the economy right now, money is really scarce with the cost of living. But last week you donated to. Oh you were showing me the seabirds, and those birds are huge. Yeah, you were showing me pictures of those. I'll have to put those pictures in the uh, what do you call it, the the description thing, because those birds were huge that you showed me. Yeah, yeah, those were. I'll have to show you guys those, because those birds were absolutely huge. But mm, but yeah, I mean, and again, I was asking her about the vets that work with her organization. I said, "Do you get any kind of discount?" And she said, "Well, yeah, but there's like a 10% discount, so it's not like a huge discount, but they do get like a little discount." And she said there's they put on this big gala, which is coming up. I believe it's April 16th or 17th. I'll have to look that up. But that's what funds their whole year of like vet bills and all that stuff. And so when that's coming closer, when I get more information, I'll send that out as well. So anyways, but more on that. I will put that over here. So that was a good thing. Oh, also a surprise in the mail came to. Oh wait. So you said that they released them. Oh, after they fixed them, they released those. They released them back into the wild. Yeah, those birds were huge. In the mail today, the moderator's dog got her Valentine's Day box. Nora got her Valentine's Day bully box today with her treats. So here's Nora with her Valentine's Day box that she got today with her treats. So there's that. So happy Nora and her happy treats. So there she got. They took them in a. Oh wow, well, that's pretty cool. Michelle said they took the birds in a boat, took them out in a boat, and dropped them in the sea. I wonder if they have a video on that. I bet they do. I bet they have a video on that on YouTube. So yes, Miss Nowhere got her hard toys and her. I like the fact that the moderator sent this to me because of the bulldog on the treats for Noir today. So, but this was her Valentine's Day box today, and also today, it was today. I would say this today. Rosie and Rosie, Lola, and Coco. Yeah, moderator says yeah. Oh, well, good. I'll look that up on Facebook. I'd like to see that. I'd like to see the release on that. The Rosie, Lola, and Coco, they got visitors today. So these are my two nieces and my my brother came and visited. So here's my niece Kira with Lola. So she came. Lola got a visitor. Oh, well, Noir's horribly spoiled. Yes, she is. She's very spoiled because she's an only child. So of course she gets spoiled. So here's Kira with Lola. And Lola just loved everybody today. So here's Kira with Lola. And then here's Danica with Rosie. Rosie was being very rambunctious today, as usual, bouncing off the walls. Bouncing off the walls. I'm going to come back here to Kira in a minute because let me flip her back over. Because Kira works for one of the prisons in Indiana, and they have a program at the prison that she works in, and they work with dogs, and so the inmates work with dogs there, and they do boarding and grooming. Yes, they are beautiful. They do boarding and grooming, and they do training on dogs, and the inmates do all of this. And like Kara works there, so she's able to bring her dog there for like grooming and so forth, or grooming and boarding and training, and it's like rather cheap. But then they also, after they do training and so forth, they also will adopt out these dogs. So that's nice too. So I think it's a wonderful prison program. So the female inmates, they do the training for the dogs, and then they have a male inmate program that they do training with cats. So the males do the training with the cats, and then they get those ready for adoption. And then I don't know what you would train a cat to do, but anyway, so the males work with the cats. I don't really know what I don't know what maybe they just socialize. That could be it too. Maybe they just socialize the cat. I have to look into that. What the heck you would do with a cat? Maybe they just socialize them and stuff. I'll have to think about that, or I'll have to research that a little longer. I mean, I could see what you would do with a dog, but a cat, I'm not sure. But anyways, so yeah, with the female inmates, they do the boarding, the grooming, the grooming, and then they training, and then they adopt them out. They also have the vet care. They do spaying, and then I believe it's like $150 to adopt one that's spay and all that. And then if they're not spayed and all that, and they're a puppy, it's like $50 and stuff like that. But still, what a great thing, especially for inmates to work on. I love those prison programs. I think it's absolutely fabulous, and I think it's something that's great for the community. I think it's a great kind of real rehabilitation program. But if you're going to be in a place that you have to, if you're going to be incarcerated, I mean, why not do something while you're in there? Why not be productive while you're in there? I mean, I would do it if I had to, serve time for something. I would do something like that. I mean, why not? It'd be something fun, and it would, give you time to do something. So I just thought it was a great program. And like I said, she brings her own dogs there, and they work with them. And, again, it's a beautiful program. And then these dogs get adopted out, and they're the same way. They get calls from different humane societies, and they'll pull them from the humane societies, or they'll get stray dogs, and they, put them, and they adopt them out. So yeah, so that's her story with that. And yeah, so it's a great program. But so yes, that is Kira. And then the rest of the family, we all went to the Blue Jackets game. So we all went and spent time at the Blue Jackets game, which was absolutely fabulous. And everybody or some of the people found their love of the Blue Jackets game for the first time, and that was also wonderful. So there was a lot of there was a lot of Jesus, sorry. Sorry. I thought there was a spider. Sorry. No spiders. I thought it was it wasn't, it was a piece of fuzz. Anyways, but over the past 3 days, it was a lot of it was very tiring 3 days. The moderator's making fun of me. Yeah, I thought a spider came down. But anyways, yeah, the past picture, yeah. Oh, no, yeah. But the yeah. So the past 3 days were a tad. They were busy, but there was a lot going on, and there was a lot to learn from the past 3 days, and they were packed with um, a lot of great memories. I got to see a lot of family. I got to see a lot of good friends and learn a lot of things. Yes, a lot of extended family time, and some things are just priceless, and you I think if it's one of those things where if certain things don't happen in life, it would have just been like another weekend, right? Sometimes you have to stop life in order to make time for things, and that's important. It's important, and I'm glad I had those, the opportunity to do all those things. I did get two Frenchie finds of the week, and one I will say one. I do have a sense of humor, so one I really I saw it and I loved it, so I had to get it. And I I am Catholic, so I had to get it. I This is my Frenchie find of the week. Um, so I did get this in because I did love it. So this is my Frenchie find of the week. So I did have to get this one. You see it? Because Jesus is holding a Frenchie. And I got it because it looks like Rosie. And she always looks like she's disappointed sometimes at me. So I did get this one. This is one of my Frenchie finds of the week. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. So that is one of them. I absolutely loved it. And my second one, let me fold this up. Yeah, I saw that shirt and I had to get it. Loved it. And then my second one, Patty says you called your senior family members and told them to open the free. Yes, that is true. I did. I did not tell anybody that I was coming into town. I just called certain family members and told them to open the front door at 6 a.m. And shockingly enough, they did. They did. They didn't even bat an eye. They opened the door for me, and there I was. So surprise. My second Frenchie find of the week is this one. So this is this is the equivalent of a tarot card, and it's a Frenchie mom tarot card. So yes, so I loved both of these. I had to get both of these. I thought they were amazing. I just and I love funny T-shirts with French bulldogs on it. So I had to get both of them. Had to get both of them. They were very very fun. Anything anything with anything with the Frenchie on it, I had to do. So it was it was definitely a must have. But again, like I said, there was a lot of things to learn over the past 3 days, and um, just you know, it was nice to connect. It was nice to um, it was just it was nice to it's nice to kind of take a trip back to memory lane too. And like I said, even sitting in that service, and thinking back to times when I was a kid, and you don't often get to remember different things, and remember when life was simple. we get so wrapped up in the way things are now, and things are busy now, and you have bills, and you have problems, and you have to solve problems, and you have to solve problems for everybody else, and you don't often remember when things were just fun, and you could just go and go to your friend's house, and turn on your New Kids on the Block album, and or go hang out at the mall, and for hours, and have literally nothing to worry about. Um, but so it's nice to take the trip, and just think, and then again think about when back then, where boy, what's it going to be like when I grow up, and am I going to have kids, and or is she going to have kids, and what are they going to look at? And then you look down the aisle, and you see, like, okay, my friend's got two beautiful boys, and my other her brother's got 6 beautiful girls, and it's just amazing how life is, just amazing. Yeah, Michelle says sounds really good, especially what you've gone through. You're 100% right. That was kind of nice too. Even though the good thing about that, Michelle, was the fact that I had to leave Coco for the whole day, but she's doing so well. She's doing so well. I didn't really worry about her that much. I literally I left the house at, like, what was it, like, I think 3:30 in the morning that morning, and I got home at 11 o'clock that night, and I didn't worry about her at all. She's doing so well, and I mean, yeah, I didn't worry about her at all. She's thriving. Her cut on her neck and everything is healing up so well. She's breathing, but her, like, Coco's, like, you on the previous, like, casts and everything. You used to hear her, like, doing that, like pig sound, like, that, you know, you don't hear that at all. She just breathes normal, and you can feel, like, how well she breathes. And that in itself, like, makes me so happy, because even in the summer, like, Coco would struggle to breathe so much. And I mean, we'd always have to have, like, the air on her or the fan on her. And Rosie gets, like, overheated. I mean, they all Frenchies and stuff, and that with, like, Bubba, they get overheated. They do overheat pretty darn easy. And I have these cooling vests that there are these little vests and stuff that you can throw in the freezer. You wet them, you throw them in the freezer, and then before you take them for walks, they just keep them cool and all that stuff. But with with Coco, I mean, she just struggled. I mean, and like the doctors were saying, even before, like, the thing with her neck swelling, it was like, it's like she's breathing, like, if you had to walk around and you were just breathing through a straw constantly. So, I mean, if anything, too, this increased the longevity of her life, and that that's priceless. That's priceless to me. Because she's such a good damn dog. She's such a good damn dog, and you can't ask for anything more than that. Especially, I mean, even if she was a bad dog. I mean, if she was a bad dog. I mean, there. Yeah, I mean, like, either way. I mean, yeah. Oh, I appreciate that. I, I, I think, yeah, I'm lucky all the way around. I'm lucky with a lot of things, and um, I think we're all putting in. I don't know. I think we're all put in the right place at the right time for different things, and like I said, I was supposed to get a totally different dog, I was supposed to get a totally different dog, and then um, that fell through, of course, because I got scammed. And then, all of a sudden, Coco came into my life, and all I think is that, you know, if I wouldn't have, now I think if I hadn't have gotten her, and somebody else would have gotten her, and this would have happened to her, you know, would they have done the surgery? Would they have not done the surgery? Would she still be alive today? I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I mean, not saying that I'm some sort of like, you know, Mother Teresa of dogs or anything, or, whatever, but I don't know. I mean, just who knows what would have happened to her. Um, yeah, Patty says, I don't want to know 100% well-behaved dog. Well, yeah, nobody does. No, well, especially, that's what we were talking about with Rosie today, because Rosie, of course, was like, bouncing off the, Rosie's like a pit ball. She bounces from all over the place, right? Rosie bounces like a pinball from person to person. We're, we've got, I've got my brother there, and the two girls, and she's bouncing from person to person like a damn pinball, and and Coco and Lola are just like sitting there looking at her, bounce from place to place. And you could see the just how, you can see just how she looks. She's like out of breath. She's running like crazy, and and she's so excited and so happy. But I mean, but that's her personality. That's how she is, and um and she's also one that there's two little Frenchies that live next door to us, and they bark. They come to the fence, right? They come to the fence, and Rosie and Coco will run to that fence, and they'll stand there, and the two will bark at them, and they'll just stand there, and they'll look at them, or they'll sit there and they'll watch them. They're like little peeping toms, and they'll spy on them, through the fence all day long. And it's just funny. It's funny to watch. She just reminds me of like a little old lady that watches people through a fence. But she's crazy. She's got this little crazy personality, and that's why I love her. I mean, she's crazy, and she gets into all sorts of things, and especially her sisters. Here was a first this morning. I was giving Coco her pills, and I give it to her in food, and Rosie decided to jump up and take the thing with one of Coco's pills in it and ate it. So Rosie got one of Coco's pills today. And I was like, well, we're going to see how that pain slash sedative hits you in about 2 seconds, because I'm like, that's really good. So yeah, so that was a first out of all these days that Rosie got one of Coco's pills. So Rosie slept for like a good, hour and a half. And yeah, and I'm like, well, here we go. But yeah, that was a first today. That was a first for her. She got one of Coco's pills. I'm like, oh, this is great. But yeah, she was perfectly fine. And again, Rosie's the same weight as Coco, and there was nothing that was going to happen to her anyways. It was just like a pain pill. So it wasn't anything that was going to hurt her. So, but she got in trouble. She got in trouble, and she slept. So, oh well, it is what it is. That's what happens when you have a dog that has to have all the attention and has to be in the way on everything. But I love her. I love her. I love her. And then, yeah, exactly. So much energy. So much energy. But you know what? So does Violet. Violet has a lot of energy too. Violet is a very good dog. She is a very, very good dog. And she likes to play a lot, and she has an abundance of energy. So, and so does Noir. When you meet Noir, Noir has a lot of energy as well. She's a good dog. So a lot of good dogs. Yeah. Yeah. Michelle, how's Bubba's energy? Is Bubba a real energetic dog? I could use Dave said he could use one of Coco's pills. Yeah, no kidding. She's got all those sedatives. They help her sleep really well. That's for darn sure. So yeah, that is for sure. Absolute for sure. But yeah, it's like I said, it's been a really interesting weekend. But a good one. But a definitely good one. And Tuesday's gonna be we're back on regular schedule this week. Tuesday's gonna be pet loss again on Tuesday at 7 o'clock, and then we'll be back on Saturday, Tuesday and Saturday again. So that will be we're back on normal schedule, and then we'll back to normal until something else comes up on a Saturday. But that shouldn't be until I would think what. Um, oh, Michelle says Bubba has very high energy and goes like a rocket. Oh, good. Wow, you know what? I love that though. I absolutely love that. Um, Moderator, the when is the ball? The the moderator has talked me into going to attending a fantasy ball with her. So we are going to a March 28th. So March 28th is one that we'll probably be moving. So we're going to this fancy um, ball in Toledo, Ohio, where you get dressed up and go to this really fancy ball. And it looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. So we've got these great dresses, and you meet a bunch of people, and it looks like a lot of fun. So, but that one will be moved, but that'll be later down the line. But until then, like I said, everything else should be on schedule, and Tuesday I'll be on schedule as normal, and we'll be back to where we need to be. So, but everything is going where it should be. So we are almost at the end of our hour, and please hit the like, comment, subscribe button. Share this with everybody you know. Thank you for stopping by. If you don't have a friend, you have one now. If you Rosie looks like Stitch. Hello to Violet. So no, if you hit the like, comment, and subscribe button. If you don't have a friend, you have one now. Please tell all your friends and family about us. We will see you Tuesday at 7 o'clock for pet loss support and probably other topics as well that day. And then we'll be back on regular for Saturdays, regular time, 7 o'clock. But we will see you all later. Thank you for stopping by tonight. Take care. Bye. Bye. I know.